So, should consumers truly own the technology that they purchase? What do you think? Well, that's a very interesting thought because owning the technology means owning the technology, but
Mhm.
doesn't really mean owning the technology. For instance, I have a product, I bought the product, the product breaks, and then either I have to go back to them to fix it or I've got to fix it myself, try and figure that out. There's
Okay.
one aspect of technology. The
Mhm.
next aspect of technology is the digital aspect of technology, where instead of owning a physical CD, you're actually doing a subscription model. And there's been cases where you purchased movies, and then, of course, the company that has the purchase of the movies loses the license for said movie,
Yeah.
and then you lose your movie. So that means you have to jump over to something else and purchase that movie if you want to continue to watch it, or song. And that happens with music a lot,
Mhm.
like you have ASCAP and BMI, and they music will switch from one provider to the other. And so all of a sudden you might have Bob Dylan songs that you can play. Now you can't play it because you don't have the
Yeah.
other subscription.
Yeah.
And that's why you have to have both subscriptions. But then if let's say you pass away, you're all that stuff goes into the ether. It doesn't
Mhm.
hand down to generations, so they don't know the music that you've played.
Yeah.
They don't know what they're expecting for anything like that. So that's the sad part about not owning these items, that the technologies that you have for there. I disagree. Being able to have no worldly possessions, because I guess it was more of the fact that when I owned CDs, the CDs were always out of the case. You couldn't find the case of the CD half the time, and then of course that CD got all scuffed up, and then because it was sitting on the floor, and then so I just end up throwing it away, buy a new CD. By
Okay.
doing this digitally, it doesn't happen all the time that you switch from one to the other. So you still have the music in tow. Having that Apple subscription, for example, for music, gives you a vast library of songs. So when you get tired of listening to that one CD, you
Mhm.
can get some new content
Yeah.
and mix and match as you go.
Okay.
Sometimes I'm in a mood for classic rock. Sometimes I'm in a mood for newer rock. Sometimes I'm in the mood for song that I heard on the radio, and it's like I really have to listen to that, and so I can call that up at a moment's notice and have that vast library from there. As on the aspect of technology, sometimes having that ability to say, okay, I have this physical item and I want to use it, but then when I don't need it anymore, I can just put it in a box and send it back to the manufacturer. I love that idea. People lease cars all the time
Yeah.
instead of buying a car. That way, then every 2 years they have a new vehicle. You're always making payments on the vehicle anyway, so
Okay.
why not get a new vehicle every year? Same thing with a phone. We now have subscriptions where our phone, once we can update the phone, we send the old phone back. So technically the phone is not ours, but some people will buy that phone out and then just use it until the proverbial wheels fall off of the phone, and then buy a new phone from there. So they don't have the latest and greatest technologies. Sometimes they don't need it, and therefore it's not a big deal for them. Well, I love the idea, the case of that. Here's the problem, and that is the idea that you have the phone and you send it in, but if you can't make the payment, then you have to send in the phone.
Mm.
If you
That's true.
switch the carriers, then you have to send in the phone.
Okay.
If you or you have to buy it out.
Yeah.
And if you cannot afford to do that, then you're stuck. And next thing you know, you're buying the lowest end phone just to make phone calls.
Okay.
And so that is, I get where you're coming from. It's nice to have the latest and greatest. It's nice to have a support that backs that, so a new phone can be purchased and or given to you, and then you just continue the payments. The other problem with that phone and continuing the payments is that when you get a new phone, you usually get a new plan. So let's say you had a free subscription to streaming service,
Okay.
and you love that streaming service, and then they give you a new phone, get a new contract. All of a sudden, that streaming service is not part of that contract, or it lowers. So, like a lot of these streaming services that come with that, you can't upgrade it. You can't get the no commercial plan or
Okay.
things like that. So then you get stuck with this plan that you really don't want to use. You'd rather just go buy your own plan. Those are some great ideas, some great thoughts there. But I love the fact that I can basically have something, and then when I need it upgraded, when I need to change it out, I can get the latest and greatest. So I can keep up with technology trends. So I can do things like, for instance, these phones in the last couple of years now have AI ability to it. Phones 4 or 5 years ago, they can do AI, but they don't have it built in on the phone. So if you're looking for something that does a little bit of AI, then you have that ability right there. However, it's not available half of the time.
Yeah.
So I just like the idea that you can take your phone and just change it out for whenever you need to. I totally get where you're coming from, and I think we're just going to have to agree to disagree on this. I totally agree that we have to agree to disagree on
Yeah.
this. Thanks a lot for the conversation.